Hey everyone, Nerdy Waffle here, back with another Pokemon video. Today we're going to be talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I based my first impressions on playing Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I want to let you guys know what I think about Generation 9 of the Pokemon games. To start off, the game kind of throws you in with a huge customization route with your character. You get to edit your hair, the hair color, your eyes, all that you're familiar with from Pokemon Sword and Shield, which I think is a really good upgrade from previous games. They pretty much let you design how your character should look at the very beginning, which I think really resonates with people that want to start customizing as soon as they can. The whole time I was editing my character, I think it took me a good solid 5 to 10 minutes to actually finally start playing the game, because they do have a huge selection on how you want to design your character. They definitely have a lot more hairstyles to begin with than previous games. I think they're very particular now with the way how eyebrows look, the shape of the eyes. I don't remember if they had ears, but you also had options to change your mouth, which is the first time I personally think I've seen in a Pokemon game, which is very nice. The only disappointing part about the whole character customization is that your outfit is only limited to the school seasons for the academy. So you have an outfit that's based in winter, August, summer, and spring, which is a huge downgrade from Sword and Shield's clothing customization options. You're pretty much limited to how the Gen 4 remakes had preset outfits for you. It's not that big of a deal, but it does make it a lot more harder to design your character. But at least they gave you facial features that you could edit very intensively. So before I officially played, obviously on social media, I saw a couple of clips showing unintended features in the game, but I didn't let those ideas cloud my judgment or my hopefully affect my first impressions, because I actually thought that, oh, maybe it's just their games. And I experienced the so-called frame rate issues, and not gonna lie, the game's opening cutscene definitely got me in the first half. I didn't expect the frame rate issues would be happening this early in the game, and all the cutscenes were pretty good. So I'm like, oh, maybe it happened to be that because the day one patch didn't come, but it hit me like a truck. Now, before I go any further for on my details on my experience with the game, I just want to mention that there may be spoilers in there. I know the game has already been out for 2 weeks from the date of this video being posted, but I just wanted to give a heads up to people that haven't played the game yet, or just want to know about my first impressions that haven't even touched the game or they're planning to get the game. So just another last reminder, there may be spoilers ahead. And I'm sorry if I already spoiled the first couple of minutes of the game at the beginning of the video. I probably should have made this earlier. I'm sorry. But on to the next one. When I started the game in the player house with the player's mom, I didn't see any frame rate issues, but walking around that initial room, there were little dips in the FPS, but I kind of ignored it. Oh, it's normal. It's probably like that, right? The overall feeling of the game felt pretty nice. The UI was really neat. I think it was very clear compared to other games. It was pretty simple. But as I progressed through that initial part, you get introduced to not the professor, the dean of the school. And he kind of explains to you, oh, welcome to the school, the academy. I'm here to personally welcome you. The issues didn't come until my character left the house. And you're going to see it in the footage right now, how weird it looks and how the interaction with the starter Pokemon at the beginning just aren't registering properly. Aside from the obvious frame rate issues I experienced at the beginning, the graphics of the game is pretty, I would say, better than Sword and Shield. I'm not expecting too much for a Pokemon game, but it definitely is a one-up to Sword and Shield. But I don't know how to compare it to Pokemon Legends Arceus. The two games are technically made in the same year or released in the same year, but I don't know if the frame rate issues affect how Pokemon Scarlet and Violet look versus Pokemon Arceus, where there weren't really any frame rate issues with their textures and graphics. So it wasn't until I started roaming in the open world where the frame rate issues started to pop out and the graphics, well, the graphics didn't really matter, but the frame rate issues were so huge. So that's when I started to realize, oh wow, like I'm not even experiencing the frame rate issues later in the game. It's happening right now. So that really caught me by surprise, and as I went down the path, it's so obvious that you could see the frame rate issues just happening right in front of you. It just wasn't good, and it surprised me. Like the fact Game Freak released the game in this state and it looks like this, it plays like this. Like, how do we have a Pokemon game in 2022 when the game itself runs as if it's playing on the GameCube? Like, look at this clip of somebody modding their Pokemon Scarlet to have 60 frames per second. This is how the game should have looked like. This could have been the greatest launch for Game Freak, but they fumbled the bag. And look how perfect it looks. Look how great it could have been. Just look at it. It hurts me to see this type of clip on Twitter, knowing that people will start arguing with each other, but the fact that the game could have looked like this just kills me. And we have people like this who is coping with this problem. This is literally how the game ran for me on installation day, and the way it runs for me now? Still puzzled by claims of glitches, etc. that I haven't experienced on my Switch. Now, when they say that it ran this day one, I call a big, huge load of BS, because the game does not run that smoothly. And I just get so frustrated that people are trying to defend this, and I'm a diehard Pokemon fan, and I admit it, I've defended Game Freak in the past, and I'll still always buy the next games, which is probably toxic and pretty bad. But the fact is, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were not ready to release this early, and the performance is just evidence of it, and this guy's trying to defend it. Also, here's another person arguing on Twitter. Exactly. People playing on PC exposing themselves. Meanwhile, I've yet to experience these claimed glitches. Occasional slowdown and dips, yes. Awkward camera angles and Poke battles, sometimes. But these crazy glitches, I haven't seen one in solo or co-op. Okay, for starters, this isn't PC people exposing themselves. People have modded Switches where they can add mods to it or make the Switch do whatever and just have it edited to the point where it looks like they're on PC. I'm pretty sure you can play the game on PC, but we're not here to talk about that. And these claimed glitches, I personally haven't gone through them, but I've seen clips and videos, and it's pretty obvious that they're in the game and it can happen to you. I'm pretty sure this person really believes that their copy of the Pokemon game isn't quote-unquote bugged or having frame rate issues, because it's just so obvious that the game was released in a state that was so bad and not even comparable to Sword and Shield's release. Sword and Shield did not have frame rate issues. They had like maybe the little dips in like FPS drops, but it wasn't as bad as this. And I hate it so much that I'm such like a big Pokemon fan, and my friend knows it. One of my friends clowns me every day, reminding me that Game Freak fumbled the bag and released the game in this state. And I see so many videos talking about the frame rate, and I actually see people still trying to defend it. And I thought I would defend it too. Maybe I was lucky and I wouldn't experience it, but it's pretty bad. It's terrible. I know it just sounds like that I'm taking a big fat dump on these new Pokemon games. It's just the fact that the frame rate issue just shouldn't have been a thing at launch. Game Freak has had the time and the past experience, especially with Arceus, to make an open world game. Yeah, Arceus was semi-open world, but it was still able to run pretty smoothly with not as much frame rate drops. The problem with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is that Game Freak just loads the entire map of the game while you play, which obviously makes performance slower and just the FPS dip. I have this scene in the game where you're introduced to the classroom, and literally almost every student in this specific scene is running at least 6 frames per second. I saw this clip online before I played, and I couldn't believe it. I thought maybe it was just that one person's like playthrough. But it's happening here to me, and it looks so ridiculous. Like, why is this happening? Like, did Game Freak even playtest this before they released the game? LOL. Aside from the obvious frame rate issues, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are actually really good games. For one thing, I love the story mode in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. You get to follow 3 different paths and take them on in any way you choose. This really gives you the feeling of an open world game. Another thing are the characters. The character designs in this game are probably one of the best that I've ever seen in a Pokemon game. It almost ties my favorite designs from Generation 4. And overall, this game has a lot for you to do. You can explore the region, fill up your Pokedex, or just terror raid with friends. Even though these are a lot of good points, they don't excuse the fact that these games have been released in a bad state that negatively affects the player base. These Pokemon games definitely have the potential to become one of the greatest games ever, if Game Freak ever decides to release a patch to fix the performance issues. Other than that, they're still really fun games, and I definitely recommend playing them or even trying them out. In the end, all we could really hope for is that Game Freak or even Nintendo could roll a patch to fix the issues that we're having right now. Well, that's pretty much the entire video. These are my first impressions on playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. My expectations were based off playing Pokemon Legends Arceus. So hopefully I was able to help you guys out. And with that being said, I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace out.